Watch. Media blackout. Huge vote fraud announcement. People deserve to see this. The leftist media doesn't just manipulate the masses by what they say, it's also by what they ignore. At the moment, the MSM outlets are in coordination to keep the public unaware of President Trump's fight for honest elections in America. Trump's Commission on Election Integrity held its first meeting on Wednesday. The mainstream media outlets were completely silent on the event in a desperate attempt to hide the truth about voter fraud from Americans. Isn't it the responsibility of journalists to cover an event of this importance? This is a serious effort to get to the bottom of whether our elections are being compromised. After all, the left is the side complaining about election meddling. The mainstream media is more interested in peddling conspiracy theories than it is in reporting facts about what's being done by our government. It's no wonder the credibility of these outlets has gone down the tube. Just look at how they've handled this event. ABC and NBC gave no broadcast time to the first meeting of the Commission on Election Integrity, as reported by Newsbusters. ABC posted a video on YouTube, but they didn't mention it on their network. How convenient, right? CBS made only a slight mention of the commission meeting, but as expected, they gave it a negative slant. As usual, that's why I stopped watching them. CBS's Anthony Mason said while Congress and the special counsel are investigating Russian election hacking, President Trump has set up a panel to investigate election fraud with little evidence if there is any. You hear that? Their anchors reiterated the same idea. Trump kicked off the first meeting of his Election Integrity Commission today, but its origin goes back to November when he won the Electoral College while losing the popular vote to Hillary Clinton by almost 3 million votes. Mr. Trump has refused to believe it, insisting that millions of people illegally voted for Clinton, but he has cited no evidence. It's the standard talking point. They love saying there's no evidence or little evidence. Which is it? Isn't the point of an investigation to see whether or not there's evidence? Do police immediately dismiss a murder investigation because there's no apparent evidence? Remember, leftists suffer from selective amnesia. They could do a Google search and find evidence of voter fraud accumulated over the years, but that's too much work for these media elites. Much of the proof of voter fraud is reported on the same leftist outlets that tell the president there is no evidence. Remember when an illegal immigrant living in Texas was arrested and deported for casting a ballot for Hillary Clinton? Who reported that story? Oh yes, it was the New York Times, yet the New York Times is among the first who jump on Trump for pointing out the reality of voter fraud. Hypocrites. The media is silent on the issue because they don't want the public to know the full extent of the Democratic Party's fraud machine. They've been stealing elections across the country for years. No one has stopped them. Even the GOP has been too afraid to call them out on it. Thankfully, Trump isn't bought like the establishment fake Republicans. We are finally going to put a lid on the illegal voting. It will be the end of the Democrats. Let's take a quick listen here.
President Trump made a surprise appearance today at the first meeting of his new commission on voter fraud. Correspondent Doug McKelway tonight on the controversial commission and reaction to it.
As Vice President Pence gavelled the first meeting of the Bipartisan Commission on Election Integrity into session, a small group of protesters gathered outside the White House, fearful the commission is intent on voter suppression. Their suspicions fueled when the President-elect Trump tweeted in November, quote, "I won the popular vote if you deduct the millions of people who voted illegally." Election experts mostly dismissed that claim as baseless. The president today was less direct, swapping numbers for a plea to both parties.
Any form of illegal or fraudulent voting, whether by non-citizens or the deceased, and any form of voter suppression or intimidation must be stopped.
Evidence of just how widespread voter fraud is remains elusive. The Conservative Heritage Foundation has compiled data over the last 2 years.
We are up to almost 1,100 proven cases of voter fraud.
Colorado Democratic Senator Michael Bennet wrote Vice President Pence last week demanding the commission be disbanded.
We've had already 4,000 people unregistered from the voting rolls as a direct result of this commission being put in place and the information requests that they've made.
The commission's first act was to ask all states to provide detailed voter registration records, names, birthdates, and votes cast. Many refused. The White House then accidentally posted public responses on its website from critics including names, addresses, and contacts. The vice chair of the commission, battling calls from the left to resign, urged opponents to keep an open mind.
If we don't find significant voter fraud or significant threats to voter integrity, we'll make their case for them.
A new Fox poll released tonight suggests that all this partisan rhetoric is not reflected in public opinion. It finds that most Americans would like to see stricter voting requirements. 6 in 10 Democrats, virtually all Republicans, and almost 9 in 10 independents would like to see a photo ID as a voting requirement. Brett?
Doug, thank you. Well, what do you think? Do you believe there is rampant voter fraud in America? Let me know on Twitter, @Bret Baier. You can use the hashtag Special Report, or on Facebook at facebook.com/BretBaierSR. President Trump made us...
And you know that these were Republican states that they found this kind of fraud. The Democrats are refusing to allow them. Okay. So can you imagine the amount of voter fraud numbers in the Democratic states? How many voted illegally? It's like California, for example. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.